What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for the recap and results of UFC Vegas 60, which wrapped up last night. Corey Sandhagen in the main event, defeating Yadong Song at bantamweight, getting back on the winning path he was on before 2021. And it was a pretty exciting main event, pretty exciting main card as a whole, but the prelims a little bit lackluster. And betting-wise, you guys, my win streak that lasted 6 UFC events has now come swiftly to an end, minus 5.17 units on the night. And it was just one of those nights for me where the props were what killed me. I went 2-2 for the money line bets. The props, I went 1-3. So overall predictions last night were 8 correct, 5 incorrect. It was really those violent spots that we thought were going to be no questions asked. The fight was going to end before the judges' scorecards. And I had bets on 2 fights in particular. I'll just get into it right now. The under 2.5 in the Nascimento-Tanner Boser fight. Not only has Nascimento never been to a judge's scorecard in his career, this was his first decision, and a first decision win. You would have never thought that if he went to the scorecards, Boser would have been the one outpointed, but he was out-controlled. And for some reason, Tanner Boser weighed in at 229 pounds on the scales on Friday. For his last fight at heavyweight, he was 240 pounds. So at 229, he's giving up a huge amount of size and weight. Nascimento was closer to that limit of like 261, 262, if memory serves me correct. So the takedowns were able to slowly accumulate as the fight went on. And once he was on bottom, Tanner Boser could not get back up to his feet. Too much weight difference crushing down on him. He was able to stay safe from a lot of damage in those positions, but the control time racked up, and he could not get his game going on the feet enough to knock out Nascimento the way I thought it would go. So I got an amazing price on the under 2.5 at minus 110. Did not matter one bit how much I beat the line because I lost those 2 units. And that's exactly what I said before the fights had started. I said, look, I got an amazing price, and surely I would want to just... it's such an obvious bet. This sloppy fight will not go to the scorecards, won't even make it into the 3rd round most likely. I should just put a lot more money on this, but I said, no, still can't trust Tanner Boser and Nascimento too much. I capped it at 2 units, and luckily that's where I capped it at because I lost both of them. Same with Trevin Giles and Louis Koski. Another case where I took fight doesn't go to decision, minus 155. Trevin Giles is a guy who can make a fight pretty boring because he is a counter striker. And Louis Koski has never been to a decision. Once again, the guy's got a horrible gas tank, 7 wins, all 7 in round 1. The one time he got extended to round 2, which was 2 years ago before his layoff, he got horribly gassed out in round 1 and knocked out in round 2. So, knocked out in round 3 of that fight, but pretty much a walking corpse after round 1. Why would I expect that he would fix his gas tank in 2 years? But what I could have expected is that he would have been tentative to come back to the cage, a little bit of ring rust, maybe a little bit scared to open up against Trevin Giles and, wear out his cardio, which he knows is bad. Sometimes guys do that. They come in and they're like, look, it's 2 years since I've been in the UFC. I'm coming off of 2 surgeries. Maybe I should, pace myself a little bit more in this fight. I'm sure his coaches were yelling that to him for a long time. Trevin Giles is a guy where if you're not going to engage him, he might not engage you either. He's a counter striker and makes every fight boring. So once again, Trevin Giles was supposed to win inside the distance, so I lost that unit on that prop. And then also the fight doesn't go, I lost 1.55 units on. So the props just did not go my way. Luckily, the 4th prop, which was Joe Pyfer to win by knockout, he got that done, got me 1.1 units on that, knocked out Amadovsky. That finally made sense, finally went as we predicted. And the money lines, not too bad either. My biggest money line was 3 units total stake on Corey Sandhagen at minus 190 and minus 200. And that played out exactly as I thought it would, against Yadong Song. Threatens with the takedowns, largely unsuccessful, but it was really just to get Yadong Song to just kind of be a little bit more tentative to throw power strikes up close with that threat of the takedown. Corey Sandhagen, way too elusive, way too skilled, switching stances, using both jabs out of both stances with great effect. And like I mentioned, never in range for the looping strikes of Song Yadong. Song Yadong basically always just throws hooks. You can see if he's going to throw a big power right hook, he loads up his left shoulder first. And then, it's very predictable for Sandhagen to see. He's got great timing and movement and counters, and eventually sliced up Yadong Song with the elbows, and the fight was stopped between rounds 4 and rounds 5. So that cashed, what did it cash here? 3 units at, 2 units at minus 200 for a 1 unit, and then I got like 0.5 something units on the other one at minus 190. So got a little bit of money back on the biggest bet of the night. I'm just glad that played out to end the night that I knew was losing going into that. At least that played out exactly as I thought it would, aside from that cut. Early on in the night, another money line on Javid Basharat making his second appearance in the cage against Gravely. I was pretty, had a pretty good read on this fight. All the takedowns from Gravely were able to win him round 1, and then he gassed out by rounds 2 and 3. Javid was able to take over with good striking and good grappling as well. That one came through. So I got 2 money lines. The 2 losing ones, of course, Tanner Boser, as we mentioned, just getting outsized and outsmothered by Nascimento, losing 1.7 units there. And Marc-Andre Barriault was my underdog shot of the night. I thought this would be about 50-50 based on if Fluffy Hernandez was able to get the takedown successfully over and over again, and my God, was he able to, and he looked very good on the feet too. Fluffy Hernandez really leveled up his game, looked greatly improved, and I think he hurt Marc-Andre Barriault early. I know there was talk of some sort of like maybe a possible rib injury, but either way, Marc-Andre Barriault had pretty good success stuffing some takedowns, but he was not able to mount any striking offense because he was constantly on the defense, and at one point it got spiked on his head so badly by the takedown of Hernandez, it broke the canvas of the octagon. If you go back and watch that, they actually his head left a dent in the floor of the octagon. I've never seen that before. Pretty brutal stuff. So a hell of a way to lose 1 unit on that plus 145 underdog shot, but that was more of a bad read on my part. I thought it was 50-50, so I took the plus money on that. But overall, you got to go back and analyze when this win streak comes to an end. Was it just like an unlucky night, or were there some things I could have done better? Honestly, a little bit of both. Like I mentioned, trusting Trevin Giles to do anything predictable. He always makes fights boring. That was just a bad read on my part. But what was the worst read was tying 2 props to the same bet. So not only am I trusting Trevin Giles or Louis Koski to end the fight within the distance, but then I put an additional bet on Trevin Giles to win as well for plus 100. I shouldn't be tying 2 props together like that on somebody as untrustworthy as Trevin Giles. I did have a 1 unit parlay on Daniel Zellhuber early in the night with Joe Pyfer. Zellhuber looked so good pre-UFC, so good on the Contender Series, and against Trey Ogden, it just seemed like a layup of an opponent he should have been able to beat, but he was so gun-shy, so slow to pull the trigger. He got outstruck and outflustered by Trey Ogden's leg kicks and just his activity and forward pressure, and he just looked super nervous out there, 24-year-old kid. All the potential in the world, all the measurables advantage in this fight, could not get anything going. Very hesitant and, just shy to pull the trigger and take any risks whatsoever. So my mistake in this parlay was trusting 2 guys that were making their UFC official debut in Joe Pyfer and Zellhuber, but so I shouldn't have trusted 2 newcomers, but Joe Pyfer did his job. I mean, he went in there, took risks, got a knockout in round 1, looked like every bit of that minus 600 price tag he was at close, but Zellhuber fell short. So I just shouldn't have been trusting 2 guys, especially parlay that were new, but kind of a bad beat. Some of these things were just very hard to predict, especially those unders. I don't regret a lot of plays. What I do regret is things that I did get right, like Andre Feely coming through over Bill Algeo dominantly. I just thought it was too close to wager money on. Same with Gregory Rodriguez. I called to beat Chidi Njokuani. More well-rounded skill set, tough as nails. But again, if that knee that sliced up the eyebrow of RoboCop landed just a few inches south onto his jaw, that fight would have ended in the favor of Chidi. So that's why I didn't wager money on that fight, even though ultimately I got the pick correct. Or even Loma Luke Bunmi, looking good, just, on a short notice opponent in what was her name? Denise Gomez. That could have been a play I would have made on the money line at decent odds, like minus 200 on Loma Luke Bunmi. I knew that she had the better skill set there against their short notice opponent. So there's some spots in this card I could have really just, sacked up and played more money lines instead of those stupid props. But, hindsight's 2020. Gonna go back to the drawing board. We have a week off to prepare for Mackenzie Dern versus Yan Xiaonan, the next UFC Vegas card in 2 weeks. And next week, you guys, I won't do a live stream next week, but what I will do is if, same deal as the last time I had an off week, if I have any action on the Dana White Contender Series Week 10, so not this coming Tuesday, but the one after, I'll release a video this week for that, or especially Bellator 285, which is Bendo Henderson versus Queally in the main event. I know you'll remember Romero's on the co-main as well. There's a lot of fights to pick through on that card. So if there's any enticing odds that I think, is worth talking about, I'll probably go ahead and do a breakdown for Bellator 285 as well. So that's how I'll fill the gap in the off week, but no live stream on Wednesday. We'll be back to the regularly scheduled programming for the UFC starting October 1st, the week of October 1st for Dern versus Yan Xiaonan. So again, I appreciate all the support, you guys. Hate that this win streak came to an end, but all good things end at some point. Time to rebuild a new win streak and get back in our winning ways. So like the video, subscribe, and leave me a comment below of what your favorite fight was on UFC Vegas 60 and how you did overall. Hopefully you guys made more money than I did on this card, but my favorite fight was certainly seeing RoboCop Rodriguez go in there and defeat Chidi Njokuani, showing great toughness. I love a jacked Brazilian who has Jesus written on his mouthpiece. That is just my type of fighter. So, all right, like the video, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys next time. Cheers.